You probably aren't going to see it necessarily on the first side of the floor anymore. Everybody's game plan is ready for that. I think playing through AB as a...
What the hell did you just say? What did you just say? You're probably never going to see it again.
You probably aren't going to see it necessarily on the first side of the floor anymore. Everybody's game plan is ready for that. I think playing through AB as a hub and inverting some of those actions. I mean, she showed last year that she can be a point forward, so to speak.
Pay attention to what you just heard. Stephanie White just said the Fever probably won't run the Clark-Boston pick and roll on the first side of the floor anymore, because everybody's game plan is ready for it. Let that sink in for a second. The coach of the Indiana Fever just admitted on camera that she's abandoning the best two-man game in the WNBA because opposing teams expect it. That's not strategy, that's surrender.
Folks, I know we say this, she might think that Kelsey Mitchell's the best player on this team. She thinks that Aaliyah Boston is the second best player on this team. Let's not get it misconstrued here. She thinks Kelsey's number 1, AB's number 2, and CC's number 3. This woman is on drugs. She doesn't want to run the two-man game with her and AB, with CC and AB, because teams are prepared for it. Stephanie, teams are prepared for a lot of things. It's up to you to be good enough to do what you do anyway.
Here's the problem with Stephanie White's logic. Teams were prepared for Stockton and Malone too. Defenses knew exactly what was coming every single time down the floor. 8 defenders in the box against Adrian Peterson. 9 in the box sometimes. Didn't matter. You know why? Because when you're the best at something, preparation doesn't equal prevention. The Dallas Mavericks knew the Warriors were going to run the Curry Green pick and roll. Knowing it and stopping it are two completely different things. But Stephanie White thinks she's smarter than that. She's watched film. She's a basketball junkie, remember? Except the evidence from opening night tells a completely different story.
Answer for the ABCC two-man game.
To that point, I've watched a lot of Aaliyah Boston and Unrivaled even coming into this, and she is such a powerhouse that I think, like, I know she's going to be happy to have Caitlin back because that was one of the high targets in the league of that two-man game. So what does that look like now? Even Raven moving Caitlin off the ball, having a two-man game with Aaliyah Boston, like, you have a lot of weapons, and people sometimes don't realize, like, that's when, like, the coaches now, it's your job to mesh that whole thing together and make it work.
Yeah, I think creating space for C and AB to do what they do in the two-man.
Now listen to this carefully. This is from Stephanie White's introductory press conference back in November. She's talking about Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston like they're the next Stockton and Malone. She says they have the potential to go down as one of the greatest duos in basketball history. She specifically mentions their pick-and-roll game as a strength to build around. So what changed between November and opening night against Dallas? Because in that game we saw maybe 3 pick-and-rolls, maybe 4 at most. For a play that was supposed to be the foundation of this offense, it disappeared faster than Christy Sides' credibility.
Montgomery, they not like us, they not like us. And she says, oh, well, teams are expecting the pick and roll. We got to change. We can't do the same thing over and over again. I mean, y'all have only done 13 games together last year, so you don't really establish anything. And then we have Stephanie White's introductory press conference. Oh, Stockton and Malone, the pick and roll game. Oh, we have the 2 best. Let's get right into it, shall we? I can't take this lady anymore.
And here's where it gets worse. White went on Renee Montgomery's platform to explain the offensive philosophy. Montgomery asks about the Clark-Boston connection, and White says teams are expecting the pick and roll, so they need to change things up. They can't do the same thing over and over again. Except they only played 13 games together last season. 13. You don't establish an identity in 13 games. You don't wear out a play in 13 games. The Golden State Warriors ran the same actions for 5 years straight and won 3 championships. But Stephanie White thinks 13 games is enough to retire the most effective play in your playbook. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. In one breath, she's calling them generational talents. In the next, she's saying their signature play is too predictable to use.
Kelsey Mitchell is an elite guard who can get her shot off at any time, who can get downhill, who can create matchup problems, who can create rotations to allow Aaliyah and Caitlin's job to be.
Yo, can somebody send this woman a drug test, please? So I'm actually impressed we didn't hear a lot of ums over there. This must be early morning before she got her fix in. Can somebody send this woman a drug test, please?
Watch this part again. White says she wants to play through Aaliyah Boston as a hub and invert some of those actions. She wants Boston to be a point forward. She mentions that Kelsey Mitchell is an elite guard who can create matchup problems and rotations to make Caitlin and Elia's job easier. Did you catch that? Kelsey Mitchell is supposed to create opportunities to make the stars' jobs easier. That's backwards. That's completely backwards. Caitlin Clark led the league in assists. She creates opportunities for everyone else. That's literally what point guards do. But in Stephanie White's offense, apparently Clark is supposed to stand in the corner while Boston plays point forward and Mitchell runs the show.
Anticipate what one another was going to do, how they facilitated with one another. But there's so much room for growth. You know, and when you think about a Stockton and Malone, right? You think, I know you guys are too young for that reference.
This is her introductory press conference, being the snake oil salesman that she is.
But when you think about the great point guards and post players that our game, not just our league, but our game has seen, they are going to go down in history as the greatest. And I'm excited about this.
Can you believe people defend this nonsense? Can you believe that there were people actively defending this nonsense?
The comparison to Stockton and Malone keeps coming up, so let's actually examine it. Everyone in the NBA knew what the Jazz were going to run. The pick and roll at the top of the key. Stockton would come off the screen, and he'd either hit Malone rolling to the basket or pull up for the mid-range jumper. Defenses prepared for it. They game planned specifically to stop it. Hall of Fame coaches dedicated entire practices to defending that one play. And you know what happened? It didn't matter. Because Stockton and Malone were so good at executing it, and they had so many counters built into the same action, that preparation was irrelevant. The play worked anyway. That's what elite duos do. They force you to pick your poison, and every option hurts. But Stephanie White doesn't want to put in that work. She doesn't want to develop counters and reads and progressions within the same system. She wants to abandon it entirely after 13 games, because it might be too hard.
It's the only way I can put it. But you're an elite ball knower. Don't worry. The shills, they'll defend you. It would be smart for Stephanie White to put Caitlin Clark off ball because she's an elite ball knower, right? Go run cover for her, please. Go put on your big girl panties and go run cover for Stephanie White. All shill media, go do that. Go do that. Not playing to your strengths is a mistake, and they lost the game. That's the result. She's been lying since day one. You know what I wouldn't be surprised if they do on Wednesday? Run some pick and rolls to shut us up.
And then there's the Adrian Peterson example. This is actually the perfect analogy for what's happening in Indiana. When Peterson was in his prime with the Vikings, defenses knew exactly what was coming. Minnesota had Christian Ponder at quarterback. They had no passing game. Everyone knew they were running the ball. So defenses would stack 8, sometimes 9 defenders in the box, every single play. And Adrian Peterson still rushed for over 2,000 yards. Because he was that good, you can know what's coming and still not be able to stop it. That's what separates great players from everyone else. Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston ran that pick and roll last season, and defenses couldn't stop it. They tried switching, they tried hedging, they tried dropping the big. Nothing worked consistently. And instead of building on that success, Stephanie White saw the defensive attention and decided to run away from it.
If I have Peyton Manning, would I rather have Peyton Manning throw the ball 30 plus times, or would I rather run the ball 40 plus times? Oh, but they know Peyton Manning's going to throw the ball. Yeah, because he's the fucking best quarterback in the league. Adrian Peterson, this is a perfect analogy, actually. Adrian Peterson in his prime against the Vikings. They put 8 motherfuckers in the box every time. 8, 9 in the box every damn time to try to stop AP. But you know what that actually did? Not a damn thing, because AP is AP. You could put fucking 12 in the box. You could put it 15 in the box. AP's still gonna fucking get a first down, because that's A fucking P. No, we know they're gonna run the ball here. Let's stack the box. 9 in the box. Safety, come down. And you know what that did? Not a damn thing, because that's A fucking P. This woman's brain dead. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video, hype the video, and subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. See you next.
So let's talk about what this actually means for the Fever's season. Because this isn't just about one play or one game. This is about a fundamental misunderstanding of how to build a championship offense. When you have 2 players who work that well together, you don't hide it. You feature it. You run it until teams prove they can consistently stop it. And even then, you keep running it because the attention it draws creates opportunities everywhere else on the floor. That's basic basketball strategy. But Stephanie White comes in talking about being a basketball junkie. She says she watches film constantly, she's obsessed with the game, and then she makes a decision that contradicts everything we know about offensive basketball. She takes her best weapon and puts it in the closet because the other team might be ready for it. The result? Opening night against Dallas. The Fever's offense looked disjointed. Clark spent possession standing in the corner. Boston was trying to facilitate from the elbow. Mitchell was hunting her own shot. There was no rhythm, no flow, no identity, and they lost. You want to know what the most frustrating part is? This was predictable. During the coaching search, people warned about Stephanie White. They pointed to her previous stint with the Fever. They noted that she's never developed a reputation as an offensive innovator. But the front office hired her anyway, and now we're watching the same mistakes play out in real time. Christy Sides at least had the excuse of being in over her head. She wasn't ready for the job, and everyone knew it. But Stephanie White is supposed to be the experienced coach who knows what she's doing. She's supposed to be the upgrade. Instead, she's making decisions that are somehow even worse. Think about the message this sends to your best players. Caitlin Clark spent her entire college career running pick and roll. She's one of the best pick and roll ball handlers in basketball, and her new coach's first move is to tell her they're not going to feature that anymore. How is that supposed to build confidence? How is that supposed to create buy-in? And Aaliyah Boston, who finally found chemistry with a point guard who could consistently hit her on rolls and pocket passes, now has to adjust to being a facilitator instead of a finisher. That's not playing to her strength. That's asking her to do things she's not elite at while ignoring the things she is elite at. The pattern that's emerging is deeply concerning. Stephanie White talks a big game. She uses all the right buzzwords. She name-drops legendary duos and talks about basketball history. But when it comes to actual in-game decisions, she's making choices that actively hurt her team's chances of winning. And here's the thing that nobody wants to say out loud. This is only going to get worse. Because once you establish an offensive identity that doesn't feature your best players doing what they do best, it's incredibly hard to walk that back mid-season. You can't suddenly decide in January that actually we should have been running pick and roll all along. The habits are formed, the muscle memory is established, the damage is done. So where does that leave the Fever? With a coach who's already lost the plot before the season really begins. With two generational talents who are being asked to play roles that don't maximize their abilities. And with a fan base that's watching their team's championship window potentially close before it ever really opened. The comparison to Christy Sides is inevitable, but it's also incomplete. Sides was incompetent. White is something potentially worse. She's competent enough to know better, but arrogant enough to think she's smarter than the obvious solution. That's more dangerous than simple incompetence. Because incompetence can be fixed with better coaching. Arrogance requires someone to admit they were wrong, and nothing about Stephanie White's public persona suggests she's capable of that kind of self-reflection. What happens next matters enormously. Does White adjust after the opening night loss? Does she swallow her pride and go back to what works? Or does she double down on this inverted offense nonsense because she's too stubborn to admit the initial strategy was flawed? Based on everything we've seen so far, I'm not optimistic. This feels like a coach who's going to stick to her guns even as the ship sinks, and that means we're in for a long, frustrating season of watching two of the best young players in the WNBA being misused by a coach who thinks she knows better than the evidence right in front of her face. The Indiana Fever had a chance to build something special. They have the pieces, they have the talent. What they don't have is a coach who understands how to put those pieces together, and that might be the difference between contending for a championship and wasting another year of Caitlin Clark's rookie contract. So yeah, Stephanie White needs more than a drug test. She needs a reality check. Because right now she's coaching like someone who's never watched her own team play. And if that doesn't change quickly, this season is going to be a disaster. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you giving White more time to figure it out, or is this already